Hey, good morning, Ben.
Morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are things over in Houston?
They're rainy. It's storming outside. I don't know if you can see out the window, but it's thundery, it's blustery.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Well, I
How,
appreciate you taking my call on here, man. I needed some good attorney advice on something because I've heard a lot of things get mentioned on YouTube here lately. It's kind of been a little fad, I think, of the trolls, and I think there's a lot of uneducated people on a certain topic, and that is, I'm seeing the 10th Amendment thrown up in conversation as far as where people are saying that the 10th Amendment gives the states the right to override other um, generic rights. So, in particular, this is being mentioned on the First Amendment, where people can, you know, they're basically saying the states have the right to use the pen. So, I wanted to ask you and see if you could come in here and enlighten everybody.
sure. Yeah. So the 10th Amendment specifically says that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states or the people. So there are some prohibitions in the Constitution against state rights. So the first one would be the Supremacy Clause, which says that the Constitution and every law passed pursuant to the Constitution overrides state law. So the Constitution itself, that includes the Bill of Rights. So the First Amendment, Second Amendment is an important one, right? All of those,
Fourth, fifth,
yeah, and the fourth and fifth are very important to my practice. Yeah, absolutely. The Bill of Rights are important. Now, there was some confusion early on in the United States history about whether or not the Bill of Rights applies to the states. But after the passage of the 14th Amendment, the Supreme Court has routinely held that these are the rights that the 14th Amendment was talking about. That saying that states cannot deny due process or equal protection under the law, and the Supreme Court has routinely held that this applies to the Bill of Rights, specifically free speech and all of the protections of the Fourth, Fifth, Sixth Amendment. Absolutely. And so while the 10th Amendment does protect state sovereignty and theoretically gives the state the power to handle education, to handle local police matters, drug rights or allowing drugs, traffic laws, all those things that the Constitution does not delegate to the federal government are within the purview of the states. That's what the 10th Amendment means.
Right.
But if the Constitution specifically protects certain rights, that means that those rights are not then that the state cannot then just override those rights because they feel like it.
Sure.
Right there. So that's anyone who says that the 10th Amendment allows states to violate your First Amendment rights to free speech or religion, or your Second Amendment rights to bear arms, or your Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable search and seizure, your Fifth Amendment rights against having your property taken or being forced to testify against yourself, all those things, no. Those are specifically denied to the states by the 14th Amendment.
Hey, and that's what I was thinking, and I had to get the professional on the line for this. Correct me if I'm wrong. The 10th Amendment would apply to something like, with Roe versus Wade being repealed, that puts the power back into the state's hands. That's something where the 10th Amendment can come into play. But as far as, journalist privileges and as far as protections under the First Amendment, I'm glad you outlined all of that. If it's in the Constitution, the 10th Amendment doesn't cover it. So
that's correct. Yes.
Man.
And you mentioned Roe v. Wade. I know you're trying to make this snappy, but that's a perfect example of what is and is not illegal locally, including up to things like I mentioned drug use earlier, but murder, right? There's different categories of murder. What is and is not an exception. What counts as self-defense? All of that is local. The 10th Amendment allows the states to determine those things, and that it would include abortion, whether or not a state considers that murder or not, right? But yes, if it's protected by the First Amendment, the states can't infringe upon it.
Awesome. Hey, this is and I didn't give you a proper introduction at the beginning, but if you want to introduce yourself, this is my attorney.
He's got a nice team working for him, but yes, my name is Ben Campagna. I work here in Houston. I work on a lot of constitutional law protecting citizens from police overreach. And that's how I met Mr. Reardon here, but also I do a lot of drafting, a lot of motion practice in federal courts. So.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you and getting all this taken care of. Got to give Courtney a call here in a little bit, but hey, it was great talking to you, brother.
Yes, you too. You have a good day.
You too, man. Thank you.
You're welcome.